The railroads just granted you a bunch of performance share units. Now it's up to you to go out and earn it and capitalize it and build some serious wealth. My name's John McNamara with Highball Advisors, and watch this video as I explain PSUs to you. Welcome everyone to the Railroad Retirement Whiteboard. My name is John McNamara of Highball Advisors, and today we're going to talk about performance share units, otherwise known as PSUs. Another form of equity compensation that the railroad grants to certain railroaders to perform certain, they want certain performance metrics out of it. So let's get right into the basics of it, and I'll walk you through this. So these are different in that in other options, a lot of them are related to time, right? Oh, if you're here a year, you'll get a certain tranche of options. If you're another year, you get another tranche. These are linked to performance, right? Do X, Y, and Z. If these things happen, you'll get a grant of options, right? So they grant them to you. So if you hit those performance metrics, they'll vest, right? So what's unique about these is the investors and shareholders really like these, right? In that instead of, like I said, just giving it because, hey, you stuck around for another year, here's some more money, they're saying, well, we'll compensate you, but you gotta really carry your weight, so to speak. So there's greater upside potential in that. So you can really hit a home run if you hit the metrics, that's for sure. And instead of the time periods that I talk about, they'll have what are called performance periods. So they're usually 3 years in length, and over those 3 years, they want you to hit certain metrics to get the payout or the grant of options so they can vest, right? And the payouts can vary. They could be anywhere from 50% of the grant to 100% of the grant to 200% of the grant. So when you see that 200% number, wow, you know, that can have significant impact on your net worth. So let's walk through an example on a PSU grant, right? So we have it's year 2020, a PSU grant by a fictional railroad of some kind. So they'll break it down into two performance metrics that they want to see you hit. The first one will be 50% of the grant will be based on the 3-year average return of invested capital by the railroad, right? That's kind of an internal number, and they'll tell you what that is. And it's important that you also understand what that number is because you want to know if you can hit it, right? And the second part of the performance of the share unit grant of the performance metric is total shareholder return versus other railroads, right? And that will be 50% of the grant, right? How's your railroad doing against other railroads? So that's the two parts of the grant just in this example. So let's go to the first part. So the first part, you can get 50% of the 50% or 100% of the 50% or 200%. And so here's just an example. So let's just say if you're 70 basis points underneath the target on the return of invested capital, you'll get 50% of your of the options on this performance metric. But if you hit the target on the return of invested capital, you'll get 100%. And if you're, let's say in this case, 40 basis points over the target, you'll get 200%. So you can see the real benefit here. And then likewise on the total shareholder return, same thing versus other railroad. If you're the top dog railroad here, you can get 200% return, right? If your total shareholder return is the best measured against all the other Class 1 railroads. So that's the real bang of the performance share units right there, is hitting these metrics. Because at the end of the day, even though they're giving you 200%, and you're like, oh, you know, the railroad's giving you 200%. Railroad would love to pay you 200% because that means they're all doing well, right? Win-win, I guess, is the term that you want to say, think about here. But if you don't meet any of these targets, okay, it's all zero. It's all zero, and that's not good. So it's really linked to that performance. So let's say you've performed well and you're going to get the grant is going to vest. You're going to get some sort of share. So let's just walk through quickly the taxes on the PSUs, right? So it's taxable income. So that's federal, state, local, right? And then you've got your railroad retirement taxes that you have to pay, Tier 1, Tier 2. So that's all taxable. And when do you have to pay that? That's when it's delivered or vesting, right? You're going to have to make that. That's ordinary income that's got to be paid. Now, normally what will happen is the railroad will do a withholding for you so that they have the taxes covered for you. So that's very helpful. And then from a tax preparation standpoint, that's Form 8949 on Schedule D. You fill out all that. And you can work with your accountant or your CPA to fill that stuff out. So this is just kind of the basic overview of performance share units. What is important to know also from a planning perspective is if you leave the railroad, let's say you have another opportunity, these will go away, right? Usually they won't let you exercise them or any of that because you're still in the performance period. So if you have another opportunity to leave the railroad, really check where you are in that performance cycle, especially the first one that is kind of tough to define. So get those metrics from your railroad to understand where you are, to understand, hey, I'm thinking of leaving, but what am I leaving on the table? So that's very important because these can be a big piece of your net worth. If you're terminated from the railroad, through, I guess, maybe through a PSR or something like that, they could still expire. Sometimes maybe they'll work something out. That depends upon each other railroad. So that's one of the other things you really want to learn from the planning is on the expiration of these in case you leave the railroad. So I hope you found this very interesting, helpful on PSUs. A lot of upside potential, really linked to performance there. So a lot of opportunities there to build that net worth. So please reach out to me. As always, I have a great boarding for railroad retirement process that you might want to go through. It's really helpful. It's helped a lot of my clients to go through it to understand where you are in railroad retirement. So click on the link to start that process. As always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The channel's growing. Share it with your colleagues. Getting a lot of great comments. I appreciate that. In the meantime, everyone, please stay safe, stay on track, and take care. So long, everybody. Bye.